Heading to Las Vegas to catch the action at Allegiant Stadium? Skip the traffic and the sky-high room rates of the Strip. Book your stay at the South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa. The South Point is located just 7 miles away from the stadium, and it's a quick trip up the freeway, making it an affordable rideshare or taxi ride. And don't worry about getting here when you land in Vegas. We offer a convenient airport shuttle to get your getaway off to a stress-free start. Shuttles are also available on Raider game days for a small fee. So whether you're rooting for your team or seeing your favorite band in concert at Allegiant Stadium, South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa is your ticket to all the excitement. Are you ready to lock in your bets and cash in on the games this weekend? Get weekly football winners from Alex White, Chris Andrews, and Vinny Magliulo.
I did take the dog 3.5.
I'm going to stay with the Colts here. That's definitely going to be one of my plays.
If the Bears have turned the corner, they have to take care of business in this game.
Yes.
Tune in for behind-the-book perspectives you won't find anywhere else.
Well, if you're looking to bet the under, you're going to get a better number.
The wise guys are certainly not going to play the favorites.
I know if it hits 7, don't blink. Maybe that's what bettors are waiting for.
Every NFL matchup, every college game that matters, the spreads, the stats, and the smart money plays.
Is there a way to bet against both teams?
Get your winning edge with Football Frenzy, streaming on YouTube every Friday at noon Pacific.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside.
Here we go. It never ends, right? Football is king, but we are very grateful to be here with you on this Friday, the day after Christmas. Sports by the Book is the show, Football Frenzy. I'm Alex White alongside the two that make this all happen here at the South Point, Chris Andrews, Sportsbook Director, and Vinny Magliulo. Good to see you guys. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. How was you guys' day off?
It was very nice for me. You know, we just kind of lounged around the house, didn't do much. I didn't feel like cooking, so we just had some hors d'oeuvres and watched football. Took a couple breaks in between to watch movies. I missed the first half of the Kansas City game. Didn't seem like I missed all that much. We were watching Elf at the time, so
Very
Classic.
good. I love it.
No, good, all good, Alex. Merry Christmas to you. Pretty much the same, just took it easy. Work from home, and listen, the staff knows what to do. Right, Chris?
Oh, yeah, I was on the phone a few times, but it was nice doing that all from home yesterday. I got A1 crew in and, you know, glad to have them that I could rely on.
Well, Christmas Eve kicked it off, a very good bowl game, which we did expect. Hawaii found a way to get the win. How was that result for you guys? I know that...
It was not good.
No, because initially a lot of people were betting the under, but then the day people came in on the over.
We had a big casino customer came in and he wanted 100,000. I said, I can't give you 100,000 on this stupid game. It's like an hour to post. I said, you know, there's no liquidity in the market. I said, if this was a regular day, not Christmas Eve. I says, I mean, I moved the hell out of the number. I had one wise guy come in and bet me a dime the other way, so that wasn't good. And then I was at It's a Wonderful Life on the big screen that night out at the Galaxy. My wife and I went out to see it. So I missed most of the game, but I was kind of sneaking a few peeks on the phone. And I guess from what I heard, I saw the last play. I think it was the backup quarterback came in for the last play of the game. And, like I said, I was watching on my phone and thought we had a winner there, and we did not.
Okay, so they came in and bet Hawaii.
They bet Hawaii, yeah.
Okay.
They bet Hawaii.
Santa Claus isn't the only one who gave out gifts on this week. It's Christmas.
And
it happens, right,
And the
Chris?
guy, he's there. Hey, come on, man. I just, I've been playing in the pit. I said, man, if I blow 100,000, Michael Gaughan isn't calling the pit. He's going to call me. I said, you could have 20. That's enough.
So how about yesterday? Because yesterday in the NFL, the underdogs completed the holiday sweep.
Yeah.
So from Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and now yesterday, 7-0 against the spread, 5-2 straight up for the dogs. So Cowboys did find a way, and the Broncos, but neither covered, of course. So how did yesterday pan out for you guys?
Well, yesterday definitely made up for Christmas Eve. I got to tell you that. So I'm looking at my numbers. Now, these were before we had a lot of quarterback issues. So going into the game, before the quarterback situation, I only made the Cowboys 4. Just that defense is just terrible. What kind of adjustment do you make for Josh Johnson? He's still in the league, seriously. So I guess I made about a 3-point adjustment, which would put it right about 7. But it went higher than that. So I felt my numbers were okay there. And then kind of a similar situation with the Lions going into that game. I had made the Lions 3.5. I mean, this team had lost 4 out of 5 going into yesterday, so couldn't make them too high. Then of course you have Hosmer is his name. That's not right. Think of the baseball player.
Brosmer.
Okay. He came in. So again, I had to make probably about a 3-point adjustment there. So I had made it 3.5 beforehand. I thought like 6.5, 7, but it went higher than that. Yep. They bet us higher than that. And these things just tend to run. And we were on with Ed Fang. And by the way, anybody that has not watched that, please go watch that. Ed's one of the smartest guys in our business. But I mentioned to Ed Fang, I made all the quarterback adjustments, and I only made the Broncos 8.5 over the Chiefs. Now, we were at 13.5, and they were betting the Chiefs there. The Chiefs, the Broncos, they're the number 1 seed right now. They may have a ticket to the Super Bowl, but they don't win games by a lot of points. They just don't do it, and they didn't do it yesterday either.
It's a great example, Alex. We've talked about it, where in the pros especially, right? These are players that there's a lot of players, whether the team is in the playoffs or not. I mean, we knew that in the Cowboys-Commanders game, done. Lions, holding on by a thread at the time. And, of course, the Broncos in, the Chiefs out. But these are people fighting for jobs and to get a look next year. And so in the pros, that element has to be taken into consideration. But folks also felt that, the favorites are going to roll. People public love tends to bet the favorites. So that kind of got built into the line too with the anticipation. Yeah. So as good as the dogs performed this year between Thanksgiving and Christmas, next year it could very well be the exact opposite.
Last year it was the exact opposite.
It was.
Right.
So yeah, but I mean it worked out well. Christmas Eve, I would say, right, Chris, to the bettors. Christmas Day.
Yeah. Well, one better in particular.
But transferring funds, and we've got today, and of course we've got a game going on right now as we're on the air.
Well, Ryan and I did talk about on Wednesday. We talked about the situation the Lions were in, and Action Network had up the actual percentage of them covering, and it was not good. That the dog that really had nothing to play for was 60% or better. And I think it's you, Chris, that always said must win, must not be very good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So we'll get into that the second hour when we get into the NFL with Week 17, and there are some more situations like that. So. Yeah,
I mean, and another thing I've said over the years, think of the guy in high school who was like the baddest guy on campus. And maybe he made it to the NFL, maybe he hasn't. But if he did make it to the NFL, there's 52 other guys on that roster that were just in the same position in high school. There's a lot of talent there.
Yes.
So it's hard to say that, nobody can win, nobody can cover it. And again, I kind of teased Ed a little bit because he talked about how he likes to look at the preseason predictions. I said, well, you certainly did not have Denver a 13-point favorite over Kansas City.
Right.
I know that. But, that's just, like I said, they have plenty of great athletes all throughout this league. And if you think a team isn't going to show up, you're probably wrong. And again, I think I said this the other day too. If you're betting a team to blow out, if you're betting a big favorite, whether it's college or pro, you have one way to win that game, a blowout. You have three ways to win if you bet the dog. Win outright, play tough the whole way, or a backdoor cover. And, Kansas City played tough the whole way.
Yeah. And that's actually another little nugget that Ed gave us too, because he was saying he does use his preseason because regardless with the football season, it's still a small sample size, right?
It is.
So
yeah.
even though this is the new Denver Broncos, still a small sample size on this year. And we know that the Chiefs team has a lot of talent.
They do.
Did pan out there. Well, let's get into the bowl games coming up. We've got 2 more tonight. We have 8 tomorrow. And then we will touch on the quarterfinals, the 4 games we have, and a little bit of FCS because I want to know if there's any moves there for the championship, even though that is a week and a half away. After that, so bowl games starting Monday, we will cover throughout the week on Sports by the Book, of course, 10 a.m. Monday through Thursday. So if you are curious with those games starting Monday and on, please give us a follow and check in with us on Monday morning. But Vinny, I want to start off with the game that is already underway, and Northwestern, it was a slow start for both sides, but Northwestern had a nice 21-0 lead at half, and now they're up 27-0 over Central Michigan. Any line moves before that game kicked off?
A lot of movement on Northwestern, right, Chris?
Yeah.
It closed 13, Alex, is a game that initially Central Michigan, any game is in Detroit, obviously, so Central Michigan got a little bit of early support, but I would say in the last, day and a half that it was pretty much all Northwestern. But if you watched that first half, particularly the second quarter, Central Michigan had 3 consecutive turnovers on 3 consecutive possessions deep in their own territory, and Northwestern took full advantage of it. So they're cruising right now. Not so sure if Central Michigan can really come back the way Northwestern. They've got their foot on the neck of this team right now, Chris.
Yeah, we needed Central Michigan, but not for a lot. We moved these games fairly quickly because the bowl games are not what they were when me and my friend Vinny here were growing up. They were big events, and teams were playing hard. They wanted to win these games. Now we don't know what the hell's going on in these games, so we do tend to move fairly early. But we needed the dog here, and like Vinny said, Central Michigan essentially had about a bad 5 minutes.
Yep.
And that was enough, I think, because I don't think they're the type of team, Central Michigan. They're not the type of team to come back. And Northwestern isn't the type of team to let them come back. So, I hate to say start counting your money already, but it doesn't look good for the Chippewas.
That's right. And they are a run-first offense. So you're right.
Tough.
That's very tough to come back from. And Northwestern is a power 4 that they were going up against. So tough to start. Before we get to the next game, a thank you, because we did get a super chat there from Joseph Frieda. So we appreciate it very much. Said Merry Christmas.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
To everybody here.
Joe.
So thank you. And thank you for everybody who is watching us live. Jump in the chat. It's going to be the last thing we talk about for college football, but semifinals, quarterfinals are on our mind here. So that is what the question has to do with: Miami, Florida, Texas Tech, Alabama, Ole Miss. Which dog are you taking the points with there? So jump in on our poll question. We'd love to hear from you guys. And our listeners are pretty good. They've been on a roll.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they can keep it
Who do
going
they like?
there.
We'll find out later, I guess. Okay.
In an hour, who they pick
Okay.
for that one. Okay, 2 more games tonight. Let's start off, Vinny, with the Rate Bowl here, New Mexico and Minnesota. We talked about this briefly last week, and just about the good coaching matchup we have. Jason Eck's been great here at New Mexico. PJ Fleck at Minnesota, 6-0 straight up. in bowl games as the Minnesota head coach. Minnesota opened 3 down to 1, total 44. Should be an interesting one we have here, Vinny.
Yeah, PJ Fleck's always had his team ready for bowl games when you look at it. But he's kind of dealing with, like a lot of coaches are dealing with, transfer portal issues. And, I think I mentioned it last week, but Chris and I were talking. I saw quite a few coaching press conferences in the last week. I watched them, and every one of them had a common theme. And that was coaches knew less about which players were opting out in advance, as they're preparing for the game. Agents know more about, because players have agents now, and many of them are parents that are guiding their kids, which is understandable. But look, PJ Fleck is 6-0 in bowl games since he's been at Minnesota here. The interesting thing too about Minnesota, they haven't won away from home this year. So when you look at their record, they've not won outside of their home field, which I thought was interesting. New Mexico plays similar to them. They like to run the ball on offense and play solid defense. So teams kind of mirror each other, obviously in 2 different conferences, Chris. But I think New Mexico is a bit of a surprise this year.
Oh, they're a big surprise to me, yeah. But I got to tell you, the more I look at this game, I kind of like Minnesota. I just think the talent level is so much. And, I think Eck has done a hell of a job in New Mexico. And if he does another good job, he's going to be going for one of the other big jobs. I'm surprised nobody's really I know he was talked about in some circles for some of the jobs around the country. But I think another good year, and he'll be getting one of those prime jobs. But PJ Fleck, he does have his team ready, usually for bowl games. And I just think the talent disparity is enough that this number has gotten, I think, really cheap. And I like Northwestern in the game. That's what we're going to be rooting for, and I'm okay with that.
I'm with you, Chris. And I mean, Hawaii found a way. Didn't have a huge difference here, but I was right there with you guys where you opened up 3 for Minnesota. So a little bit of a difference there. And the Mountain West, Hawaii found a way. So 1 and 3 in these bowl games. But other than that, it's been pretty disappointing for that conference. Okay, one more tonight. Pittsburgh and East Carolina should be a good matchup as well. Trying to see my notes here. This one's in Dallas. So 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And another game, Chris, the bettors are taking the points. Roadrunners open 9. Now, back to 6.5 though. So went all the way down to 5. I think you're back at 6.5 here for, did I skip? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Florida International.
So we're looking at UTSA and FIU.
Yep. Yes, FIU and UTSA is tonight, not Pittsburgh, East Carolina. That's the morning. But bettors like the Roadrunners here in this one.
They're all over the place in
this game. Is ping pong.
Yeah, we're all over the place here. I like UTSA myself. I think this number is just a little too cheap. I mean, but you're talking about 2 schools. I hate to admit it. I mean, I don't know that much of the inner workings as we get towards the bowl game. Now, if this was a mid-season game, I'd have a very strong opinion on this game in favor of UTSA. But I don't have a strong opinion because it's been hard to follow exactly what's going on with all the opt-outs. I mean, it's just really, it's an impossible task when you're looking at 130 teams or however many bowl teams we had. Now, if we're talking about, Michigan and Texas, we'll talk about that maybe on Monday or whatever. But, these teams, unless you're following the beat writers, which to tell you the truth, I don't have time to do. Unless you're following the beat writers, you don't know exactly what's going on with these schools. So my numbers say UTSA. I do respect the movement, though, in the game, and it's been 2-way movement. So at this point in time, I'm going to assume we have a pretty good line.
Yeah.
But we've had 2-way action on this game for sure.
I mean, you look at it, open 9, right down to 6.5 now. As Chris has pointed out, though, at these smaller, because it got as low as 5.5.
Yes.
So coming back up on the other side. But that's there's also a lot quicker movement on these too. So that all you can do with these, Alex, is try to read into what's happening in terms of the betting. So again. Certainly lower limits than the playoff games that we're going to talk about later. the four playoff games. But lower limits and quicker line movement with these, just trying to garner, some intel, who's playing and who's not. And again, if the coaches don't know, in a lot of cases, certainly the bookmakers and many times the players know. If the players find out, they'll take advantage of it. They took advantage of the high price, the 9 and the 8, all the way down to, like I mentioned, 5, and now starting to come up the other way. So we came down the ladder. We'll go back up the ladder.
As long as we stay away from the number, we're going to be in good shape with this game. So
I am sad I missed the 5 because I'm with you. I think that they've just taken it too far, and there's a little bit of value there with the favorite, but now back at 6.5. So I do agree with that move coming in. It looks like both quarterbacks will play, and Jenkins missed a few games, but did play the finale for FIU. Owen McCowan, starting quarterback for UTSA, very good year and should be playing, but the Roadrunners do have 3 defensive players in the portal, so something just to keep an eye on. But yeah, everyone's just trying to gather as much information as they can, right, and make the best bets that they can. But I will say the steam has not been very good so far in the bowl games.
Ordinarily, I would say watch what the wise guys are doing. They usually have a good handle. They have not exactly torn it up this bowl season, but we are relatively early in the bowl season, so I listen, I've been doing this a long time. I know just because they have a couple of games that they blow, don't totally throw out their opinion, because a lot of times they have information. But information, it only goes so far. The games are still played on the field, and you can have all sorts of information. And like I said, I'm thinking of that badass you had in high school. Well, I'll tell you what, that badass might be at FIU or UTSA. They're not just some rummy that they pick up to earn a scholarship. That kid's probably pretty good too. So, just go out there. We'll see. I think a lot of these are conducive to in-game betting, when you can kind of see what's going on, get a little better picture of the team's attitude, how the coaches are approaching the game. Sometimes coaches don't approach the game with much seriousness. That seems to have changed a little bit in the last couple of years, because I think a lot of these coaches are looking for that next job.
Right.
So, more so than in past years.
Well, let's go to Saturday slate here, because we do have 8.
Oh, now we got Pitt.
8 bowl games, and we're going to start it off with Pitt and East Carolina. This game is in Maryland. Go Bowling Military Bowl here. So nice and early, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 Eastern. Okay. Panthers opened as a 6.5-point favorite. Now they sit at 10. So opposite of the games we've seen in the later slate tonight, all the action, Vinny, seems to be on the favorite here in this one with Pittsburgh.
Believe it or not, early, the money was on East Carolina. Again, this is a game that went down to 4. So when you think about it, here's a game that's moved almost a touchdown, Chris, since the low point. Again,
welcome to bowl season.
But it appears now that there's more opt-outs for East Carolina than for Pitt. And again, when you look at the strength of schedule, clearly Pitt, now, even though Pitt, with high hopes at the time, and they were battling with several other ACC schools to get a shot at the ACC title game, even though the Notre Dame game was not a conference game, Notre Dame had their way with Pitt. And then, of course, Miami finished things off for them there. But Pitt appears to be moving forward with, again, into this game with less opt-outs. Not really a surprise with the Pirates in a smaller conference, coming out of the American, and players entering the portal to try to get to one of the Power 4 conferences. But again, 6.5 down to 4, now up to 10.5. Chris, I don't know how high it can go.
Well, I made this game 8 originally. So when they came in originally on the dog, I was happy with that move. Now they start coming back the other way. I don't know how far you want to go. I mean, my original number of 8, and probably toss that out the window and at least make a further adjustment in favor of Pitt. But how far do you go? I'm not a big Narduzzi fan, the Pitt coach. Like Vinny said, there's some opt-outs for East Carolina. Kids looking to go, extending their career and extending their chances to have a pro career. And I think, again, we're going to see a lot of that. We're seeing it already, and I think we'll see a lot more of it in the years to come unless something changes. But right now, I think this number is probably about right. I'm not sure I'd play either team, and I think this is to be another game. You have to look at the in-game. Like I said, I think my opening number that I personally made it at 8 was probably a pretty good number. But now it's gotten high, but it's gotten high for a very good reason. And I'm not sure I'd be jumping in on East Carolina.
Well, and including that, I'm pretty sure that the quarterback, Keaton Hauser, will also not be playing, right? So for East Carolina. And don't have a definite on Mason Hershaw, the freshman who played really good for Pitt, but it looks like he is going to. So I think that is part of the reason.
Better decide pretty quick.
To be playing Pitt here in this spot. And I wrote down the same note as Vinny. Lost 2 out of their last 3. Might want to make a good showing here. And actually,
Pitt, you're talking about?
Pitt.
They didn't just lose. They got waxed pretty good.
Yeah. Pretty good team. So one of them in the playoffs.
Yeah. The other one felt they should be.
Yeah.
Very much so. Okay. Keeping it going here. Pinstripe Bowl. We're going to Yankee Stadium. That is next, right? We've got Penn State and Clemson. Clemson 2.5, total 47.5. We know the deal with Penn State, had a ton of opt-outs. Of course, trying to figure out the coaching situation there. Terry Smith did a really good job as the interim. He will be coaching them for this bowl game. It sounds like he's going to stay on staff, too, with Matt Campbell, which I think could be really good. So what are we looking at in this one? Chris, any opinion for you and any movements?
Well, again, I made when I originally made my numbers, and I was don't get married to these power rating numbers, especially in the bowl games. So I made Penn State, a fairly decent favorite, like a field goal favorite. But now there are so many opt-outs, and I haven't heard of that many opt-outs for Clemson. I think Clemson's going to be at relatively full strength. So how far do you swing this number? Once again, I do think where we are right now is probably a pretty good number. I'm going to toss out my original number because, just the squad has changed. And listen, when they kick off, I'm a Penn State guy. I'll be rooting for Penn State. But I don't have much confidence in them. Even at this point in time, at 2.5 on Clemson, I'd probably be inclined to bet Clemson in this game, although I'm not crazy about it. But like I said, I think Penn State finished with the kids that are on the team have a lot of pride in their school. I think they're personally disappointed in James Franklin being fired. I mean, I'm sure there's a sense of some responsibility that they bear on their own shoulders. I think they'll go ahead and put in a pretty good effort. But I think at this point in time, Clemson probably has a talent disparity in their favor.
So 3 on the opener. Up to 5 again. Now coming down the ladder. So,
excuse me, because Clemson had a couple opt-outs too. But they seem to be at much more full strength than Penn State. I'm sorry, Vinny.
No, not at all, Chris. You're 100%. And Penn State. Look, they gave Indiana all they could handle, right? When you think about it, that and then they won their last 3 games. So they played hard. But there's a lot more players leaving, that have entered the portal for Penn State. By the way, the other part is Tom Allen, who's the defensive coordinator at Clemson, was at Penn State last year. So I think there's quite a bit of familiarity there with what's happening, on the other sideline. Clemson is on a 4-game winning streak. Three covers. All under. It looks like maybe Dabo's got their focus now. We know Dabo's going to be back next year. The question is, okay, how much can he retain in terms of personnel? And is he going to dip into the portal more than he's done in the last few years? We'll find out if he realizes he probably should. Look, again, with the injuries and the opt-outs and transfers, particularly on defense for Penn State, I mean, again, overall in the game, 2-way action. Whether or not that stays till kickoff, we'll
just
find
stay
out.
away from the number. That's all I'm worried
we don't
about.
need a 3 or a 4.
You'll be able to tell pretty early on which team is motivated and there, right? So like you've been saying, an in-game would probably be good in this one because there is talent on both of these rosters. Disappointing seasons for both of them, but kind of staring at that 2.5 because I really don't trust Clemson, even with Cade Klubnik playing here in this one. But let's keep it rolling here. Let's go to Fenway now. We go from Yankee Stadium to Fenway Park. Army and UConn. Army is up to an 8-point favorite, Vinny, here at the South Point, but we know Jim Mora Jr. taking the Colorado State job after back-to-back 9-win seasons here at UConn. Jason Candle will be the new coach. 10 players already in the transfer portal, including 6 starters. Army, pretty healthy. Of course, they just fell short in the Commander-in-Chief and did not win that trophy against Navy, but have a chance to get a big win here over UConn.
Let's just bring up a point too, Alex. When you look at this game and the previous 2, so you have Annapolis, you've got New York, and you've got Boston here. Bad weather today, a severe winter storm. Now, I don't know how long that storm is going to last and how it's going to impact, certainly travel, but also how it's going to be very cold. They're talking about record snow in the New York City area in the next 24 hours. So we're going to keep a very close eye on these totals. But in terms of this one, everybody, the Huskies wide receiver, Skylar Bell, I think he's playing. Of all the people that, at least he has said so, but he may reconsider when you look at, obviously, coach leaving, other players that have opted out and are entering the transfer portal here. I don't know. Look, 4-game winning streak for them as well. A terrific year. No real shock that the coach has moved on. Both teams they beat Air Force this year. It's Army's run game versus UConn's passing attack. And now, how much passing is going to be tomorrow? Then again, watch the weather, see if the wind impacts things more than anything else. Certainly, no transfer issues at West Point. So, both teams play with great discipline. Very few penalties and turnovers for each one. Pretty good game when you look at it. But not a real surprise, Chris, that the numbers run in Army's favor here.
No, not a surprise at all. And I think Jim Moore has done really just a fantastic job at a very difficult situation. When he got to UConn, they were one of the worst programs in Division I. We forget back about 20 years ago, I think they played, they were in one of the New Year's Day Bowls, and I can't remember the name of the coach. He came back. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. I think Mora leaving means an awful lot because I think he was a good in-game coach. Matter of fact, I was surprised he didn't get a bigger job than Colorado State. I think he may have jumped a little too early. But, he's had his chances, and he's had mixed success, let's just say, as a head coach. So maybe that was in his best interest. I think this game is run a little too much. I originally thought UConn should be the favorite in this game. But with all the opt-outs, and like Vinny said, there's no opt-outs at Army. And we do know one thing. Army's going to come ready to play. Those kids are going to be ready to play. Say it all the time. That's glad we have these guys defending our country. But I think this game's run a little bit too far. But to hit on another thing that Vinny said, I was going to get into it a little more in the pros. There's bad weather all throughout the Northeast. Even from Cleveland all the way over. I saw Woodbine, which is in Toronto, canceled racing.
Horse racing, yeah.
The Meadowlands in Pittsburgh, harness racing, they canceled racing. So we have terrible, terrible weather. I've been trying to follow the wind. Sometimes the wind projections are a little bit harder to follow. But we certainly look like snow, participation in some of the temperatures that won't drop quite enough. But there's bad weather everywhere. I think that tends to favor Army in this game.
Yeah.
But I still think that number's gotten a little bit too high. I don't think I'd be laying 8. I think I'd probably be taking it and then hope that my team can hang in there. But all throughout your handicapping this weekend, when you're looking at these games, look at the weather. It's going to be a huge factor on Saturday and Sunday, and including, in a bowl game like this.
Well, this is one of those examples where if you got in early and you laid the 3, 4, maybe even 5 with Army, and you had the information, because, really that quarterback, Joe Fangino, was so good for UConn, right? So it might be a struggle. We don't know what to expect really without him, but I'm with you. I think it's just gotten a little bit too high now, asking a service academy to cover.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the totals, 42.5, and you know, in all honesty, you know, Army was not a very good team this year. You know, they really were not. You know, and now you're asking them to cover a number like this with a low total in a bad weather game. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what we have going for UConn, but I do know that number 8 is pretty big. It's more than a touchdown, and with a low total and bad weather.
How about this next one? Should be a good one here. Pop-Tarts
Oh,
Bowl,
yeah.
Georgia Tech, BYU. Now, it was going to be Notre Dame and BYU, but two-way action here, Chris. Brent Key, Kalani Sitake, both signed extensions with their programs. Finally, we can say that. So both teams should be ready to go. Haynes King going. BYU will be missing LJ Martin, the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, one of their best running backs. But besides that, I think that's really it. So BYU, 4-point favorite, total 56.
We had some money on the dog. I kind of like the favorite in this game. You know, I think Georgia Tech, with Haynes King, I think really was such a big part of this team. You know, I think if BYU could just kind of bottle him up a little bit, I think that number's a little bit low. I don't think weather is going to be a factor here. I did check the Florida weather for the pros. I didn't bother checking it for this game, but it looks like it probably will not be a factor. I just like BYU in this game. I think that, overall, they had a better season. I think, again, we talk about discipline. BYU's, famous for being a very disciplined outfit. Not that Georgia Tech isn't, but I just think I think BYU is the right side in this one. And it looks like at this point in time, if they're going to kick it off in the next 5 minutes, I need BYU. I'm okay with that, but we still got about 24 hours to go, so we'll see what happens here.
Both teams were playoff bound 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right? Think about it. And now here they are in this game. I mean, Georgia Tech, though, who's in better, I guess, current form or recent form? Certainly BYU.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia Tech, they lost 3 of their last 4 after starting out 8-0, right? And they were in a position to play for the ACC title. At the end of the day, again, it's hovering between 4 and 5. BYU's the more balanced team, and certainly in more, I can't even say current, but more recent form because of the layoff.
Only 2 losses to the same team this year. I mean, Texas Tech was just a very tough matchup for them, and so I agree with both of you. Right there though, I made it 5 was my original number, so it would be lean to the favorite there in that one. All right, Vinny, to Arizona here, Arizona Bowl in Tuscany, Arizona. Fresno State, Miami, Ohio. Now, this one's interesting as well because Miami, Ohio, as we know, before they made it to their MAC championship, did not have their starting quarterback, left the program about 4 weeks ago. DeQuan Finn turned to a freshman, but they also have a veteran on their team, Henry Henson. We did see him in the MAC championship. A lot of people like Fresno in this one. What do you make of it, Vinny? Up to 5.5 here for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, 2-point move to Fresno, Alex. Miami lost the title game, as you mentioned, to Western Michigan. They're looking to go back-to-back in this bowl, though. They did win this bowl a year ago. They like to get after the quarterback. But then you have a Fresno team that, with their solid defense, Chrissy's been, singing the praises of Fresno's defense all year. So I think the team that can run the ball and control the tempo, that's going to be the key to this game. So both teams, I think, are going to try to impose that mindset and that aspect in this game, Chris. But a 2-point move to Fresno in this one.
I really like the opening number. I thought was okay. Miami, we know what we're getting with Miami. They did lose their quarterback a month ago or whatever it was, or more than that. Look at the total here, 41.5. I think is a kind of a low total.
Yep.
Not kind of. It's a really low total. And I like taking the points here. I think this number's gotten a little bit out of hand. Open 3.5 up to 5.5. I think stick around. You might be getting 6 by post time. But I favor the dog in this one. I think they show up, and I think they make a good accounting of themselves.
Got to go back and look and see how these MAC teams have been doing. But so far, so good. We saw it with the good Ohio team the other day against UNLV. So maybe Miami, Ohio can follow that in Tucson, Arizona. But keeping it moving, New Mexico Bowl here, North Texas, San Diego State. Now, this would have been a dynamic game.
Yeah.
Strength on strength. But, of course, North Texas, Drew Mestemaker, their quarterback, has entered the transfer portal. So we wanted to see that offense against SDSU's defense, but looks like we won't get to see that in this one. North Texas still a favorite, though, 6.5, Chris, and a total 53.
I don't know. Without that quarterback, I don't know. You could be laying points in a game like this. San Diego State, now they had probably through 6-7 weeks of the season, they were one of the best defenses in the entire country. Fell off a little bit towards the end. You probably think injuries and some other things are accountable for that, or maybe some guys figured out some ways to attack that defense. But that defense is just terrific. Now, the quarterback from North Texas, he's such a great story that, and not just a great story, the production from this kid was unbelievable. I'll tell you, I think, I'd like San Diego State in this game, considering all the factors. And, you can see the total's now 53. You would never have seen a total like that in the San Diego State game. Like I said, up to about week 6 or 7. But they've had some time to heal their injuries, put together a good game plan. I think this number is a little bit out of hand. I like San Diego State in this game.
3-point move to the up-tempo, the up-tempo side in North Texas, right? I mean, you're talking about they led D1 schools in scoring offense.
Yeah, it's a hell of a defense.
Saying something. They love to play.
Oh, you're talking Northwestern. Yeah, okay, right.
Now, here's the other. But as a school, they've lost 7 straight bowl games. So teams, I guess, it's not like they just decided to play this style this year, right? I mean, it's kind of been there for a few years. But the head coach is gone. We talked about the fact he's moved on to Oak State, I think, right? Isn't he? Yeah.
I think he's coaching this game, though.
No, I think the special teams coordinator.
Oh, is that right? I'm sorry. I'm probably in error.
I think. Chris,
I have the same note.
Right?
Okay.
That it will be passing game coordinator will serve as the interim.
Now,
serve as the interim DC. So
yeah, I thought special teams coach Svoboda was going to coach this game, but I could be wrong. Maybe there's a change. I don't know.
I'm probably wrong.
San Diego State's going to rely on their defense, but their defensive coordinator is now going to Nebraska, so he's not going to. I don't think he's not going to coach in this game too. So we've got players entering the portal, players opting out. You got coaches, and staff members, whether they're head coaches or coordinators. Pay attention to that aspect too, because for the entire season, players have been taking direction from specific individuals who now are not, in many cases, not going to be there either. So it does mean something.
Vinny, you were correct. Special teams coach.
Okay.
Will be taking over as
and
interim
I think quarterback is out for San Diego State. Denegal is not going to play for this in this game because of shoulder surgery. So, not a real surprise that the move has come to the up tempo side. People love offense, and that's been the move so far. What's the threshold to buy back? I don't know, Chris. Maybe 7. I mean, 7. I would be hard. I'd be very shocked if it got to 7 and there wasn't support for taking the +7.
Yeah, I mean, really, and we talk about this all the time. Guys are playing numbers; they're not necessarily playing teams. And taking 7 with a defense like that, even though they're not on the same par that they were, a month or 6 weeks ago, still, you look at all the factors involved. 7's a big number for a defense like that. I hope they do take the 7. I hope we don't get the 7. I hope they start taking the 6.5. Right now, we do need San Diego State. Once again, I'm okay with that. We'll let the play on the field decide.
I'm going to jump in with the Aztecs.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked me into it. My original number was 6 here with North Texas. I got to imagine
so was mine. Mine was 6 with North Texas.
It's worth a lot.
Yeah, I think so too.
For that offense.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Eric Morris, too, the head coach, will not be there. So I think it's worth it with that defense and the time that they've had to regroup and maybe injuries. So,
Mhm.
okay, couple more here, and then we will get to the quarterfinal games and any movement that we have seen. Just 2 more, I believe. Let's go to Virginia and Missouri. Could be a good game. Great year for Tony Elliott's team. He did win the ACC Coach of the Year. They finished 10-3. Just fell short to Duke in the title game. Tigers on the other side, 8-4, trying to reach 9 wins for the 3rd consecutive season for the first time. So a lot to play for here because Virginia's never had 11 wins either.
Right.
So Chandler Morris, I believe he is playing. He was talking about the goal of trying to get to 11 wins. On the other side, I mean, I thought it was pretty shocking. We know that Bo Prabula was injured middle of the season, did come back though, but now he's entered the transfer portal.
Yes.
I was surprised to see
Yeah.
that. So,
By the way, Alex, so have their top 2 wide receivers. They're not playing in this game either. They're Manning and Johnson. They're not playing in this game either. So you've the quarterback and the 2 top wideouts for Missouri not playing in this game.
got to imagine money, right? This is where my numbers were where they were when I made it for a little bit higher at 47, but that's where you sit right now, Chris, 44.
Well, I think Eli Drinkwitz was talking about being in the transfer portal too for a while.
Yeah.
I think he was looking at some other jobs. My original number came to 8, Missouri. That's before Prabula opted out and the receivers opted out. And, like I said, a lot of noise with Drinkwitz. I'm not sure where his concentration is. But I will say this. I've had Virginia somewhat underrated most of the year. When I finally tried to catch up with them, I'm not sure I completely caught up. There's a good team, well coached. I don't like this game. I made it higher. I understand the move downward. Matter of fact, I agree with the move downward. I don't know if it's moved too much or not. I really don't have an opinion in this game. It's a shame that we're not seeing these 2 teams at full strength.
Yeah.
Because I think this would be a very interesting game. But another one, watch and maybe make an in-game bet. But like I said, I'm going to give you a little caveat here. Made the number higher, but I also know that I've had Virginia somewhat underrated all year.
Offensive coordinator for Missouri is now the head coach at Washington State. So you've got quarterback, top wideouts, OC gone. Virginia, if they can shake off that loss to Duke in the ACC title game, which you know what, I think the coach and when they'll get it with the incentive of winning 11 and building towards next season as a program. Frankly, just more cohesion and more starters playing for the Cavs in this one. So not a real surprise that it's moved that way, and we'll need Missouri in this game.
Yeah, you got to think there's a little more motivation.
I don't think
on that
we're going to
side.
be going back up the ladder, given the players that are not there.
So if you do like the dog jumping now, is what you're saying, because we're not going to get any better, or if you want to wait for in-game.
In game maybe, but because you missed out on the best numbers as Chris pointed out. I mean, the game did open 7, so down to 4.
I think they'll be excited to be in this game and have a chance to go up against an SEC school. So I think that is the way I would lean. Talk about one that I don't really love here with LSU and Houston. Don't know what to make of this bowl game. Houston on one side, I mean, it is in Texas, so
Game's in Houston.
maybe give them a little bit of home field here. Connor Wegman announced he will be returning to Houston in 2026 for his final season. I think that is a good move. We saw drastic improvement from him, right? Going over and playing for Willie Fritz's team. On the other side, Garrett Nussmeier has not played since week 11 and will not play.
Won't play.
Quarterback here for the Tigers. So what are we seeing, Vinny? It looks like we're just at a pick.
Yeah, this game it supports. Here's the thing: Houston opened as the home favorite. And again with everything that's the changes that are happening at LSU. By the way, Lane Kiffin's not coaching this game, so and neither are a bunch of transfers coming in. So look. I don't know. I honestly, Frank Wilson is going to coach this game and then leave for Ole Miss as the running backs coach. So that's a little bit of a subplot too. Which is like, how's that going to work out for this? I mean, what do you make of this game? But yet, LSU's gotten the support. They're going to rely on their defense. I mean, just trying to willing to grind things out. Nussmeier, you mentioned, wide receivers are out. I think Houston has the quarterback edge in this one, as the LSU secondary is going to have some people that are missing as well. Yet LSU's gotten the betting attention so far, Chris. I suspect there's going to be money on Houston between now and tomorrow.
Well, we've had some pretty decent two-way action here too. But I got to say, when I made my original numbers without all the crap, this is before all the Lane Kiffin stuff, I made LSU a 5-point favorite. And then now, Nussmeier's out, and, Vinny mentioned some of the coaching debacle that we're looking at. And again, ever since I've been on the air for all of these, ever since Willie Fritz has emerged as a head coach, I've been a fan of Willie Fritz. The guy just gets the job done. I wound up lowering my number after I did more homework. I lowered it to pick. But again, the more I look at this game, I think Houston got to be the right side, don't they? I mean, there's just too much going on with LSU. And Houston, you mentioned the quarterbacks coming back. Willie Fritz is staying there. I think right now that's a program, not that I would invest in long term over LSU, but I think for tomorrow's game, I think they have the edge over, considering all the stuff that's going on at LSU. I think you have to like Houston there, even though my numbers come to pick. But, I'm going to ignore the number and say I think I like Houston here.
Really wanted to see Houston their last few games. So 2-2 in their last 4. I guess that's why I wasn't, running to the window to take Houston in this spot, especially as a favorite. I like them in that dog role, definitely. But here at a pick, Chris, I think you're right. But my number raw power rating was a lot higher here for the Tigers.
For LSU?
Yeah.
Yeah, so was mine. But again, once I start looking in all the stuff that's going on there, I mean, it has to affect their play. I mean, you would listen. It doesn't have to be anything, but I would assume that it's going to affect their play on the field.
Yeah, I mean, really.
I mean, who's in and who's out from not only a player's perspective, but the coaching perspective as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
And I'm looking at the parlay card, the ties win card. I have Houston a 3-point favorite. So, that's, kind of gone back. And this is only from, when did we put the card out? Tuesday. So it's, just a lot of fluctuation. But, I'm okay with that as well. But whether I'm okay with it or not, doesn't matter. That's what I'm stuck with.
It's always funny, though. You never know which game is going to get a ton of action. Yeah. And seems like the Texas Bowl has with LSU and Houston, and difference of opinions there. All right, let's go to the big games. We got to talk about any line movements, and if you guys have added anything that you do like coming up with New Year's Eve. We've gotten the Cotton Bowl here. Miami, number 10 seed against the number 2 seed in Ohio State. I don't think you guys have touched 10 yet, if I'm not mistaken, Vinny, but 9.5 for the defending champions in the Buckeyes. 42.5 is the total.
Boy, it looks like a big number when you take into consideration Miami and their defense. But you know what? Ohio State's defense has been solid all year, right from the beginning of the season. That first game where they beat Texas 14-7. A little bit of support for Ohio State, so not really surprising. But with these defenses too, the move to the over at 42.5. So it kind of they did bet it over a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not terribly surprising. Weather's not going to be a factor here, obviously, with the game in Arlington. But I continue to say these are the games that we love to play, and these to book, and they're the games that people love to play, and tying them in with Week 17 pro football is a major handle factor, and we'll continue to see an increase in handle from year to year in these playoff games, Chris.
Oh yeah, it's funny. My numbers come to exactly 9.5 on this game,
Wow.
So I really have no opinion. But I was reminded today, Alex. I'm not sure if you were still in diapers yet, or what? Do you remember the NCAA championship game? I forget what bowl game it was. These two played. I want to say 2002, maybe something like that. Maurice Claret for Ohio State, and Ohio State got. There's a play in the end zone. We thought the game was over. Miami was going to win. Late flag, pass interference on Miami. That's one of the rare occurrences where that late flag really helped me out an awful lot. So I remember that play. But I forgot that was a rematch of that game. But this one.
Ohio State did win?
Ohio State won.
Yes.
Yeah, Ohio State. Was that Urban Meyer coaching that team, Vinny?
No, I don't. 2002? No, I don't think it was. Was it Tressel?
Might have been Jim Tressel.
I think so.
Might have been Jim Tressel. But anyway, like I said, that late flag helped me that day. So you tend to remember that. Actually, you usually forget those. You figure it's your God-given right to win those kind of games. But I did win that one. But anyway, this game, I made exactly 9.5. I think Ohio State should be a pretty decent money line favorite, which they are. I don't advocate teasing college football really ever. But this might be a spot where, and if you're going to tease, get to the 3. Don't just bet a 6-point teaser and be done with it. Get to the 3 or under. But I think Ohio State wins this game. I'm not sure they cover that 9.5, but I'm pretty confident they're gonna wind up winning this game.
Their offense has gotten better too as the season's progressed. More efficient.
I am with Vinny, though. I am surprised to see the over move, but looking at last week, what we saw from Miami and Texas A&M, I don't want to overreact, but really, I said that first half under. Right now, you guys are sitting at 21. I think that's a pretty good number. Both defenses really good, and Miami's second in the country in points allowed in the first half, and Ohio State is number 1.
Wow, okay.
And Ohio State number 1 still in points and yards surrendered. So it's going to be a battle here, but I do think Ohio State will find a way. And Chris, we kind of talked about them with the time of possession, right? And long drives, so they can do that. And I think I'll look to the first half, though, might break open a little bit.
Yeah, and I think really, if you were talking about time possession, efficiency, that's coaching. And I think there's a big coaching mismatch in favor of Ohio State in this game.
Well, and we saw what happened last year after Ohio State took a loss in the regular season final game. They came out strong in the playoffs. We'll see if they can jump and turn it around from losing the Big Ten championship. But let's go to the first game on New Year's Day, Oregon and Texas Tech, the Orange Bowl. Oregon, a 2-point favorite. Looks like that number's kind of everywhere in the market, 1.5 to 2.5. But here at the South Point, Oregon 2, total 52.5. Chris, I think we know where you stand.
Yeah,
but
like I
said, got a ticket on Texas Tech.
No, I don't have a ticket on Texas. I don't. But I may wind up with one. Like I said, my recommendation here, because you're looking at, I made Texas Tech a slight favorite, a 2-point favorite. Taking 1.5, there's probably a little bit of value there. I think the value would be in taking Texas Tech on the money line. So even here, I got it plus 115. I don't know what the high water mark is. I'm sure you could take $1.20 elsewhere, maybe even $1.25 at some places by the time we get to post time. But that would be my recommendation: taking Texas Tech on a money line rather than laying some juice. Try to get the juice working in your favor, and I think plus 15, even that would get me on this one. But I think you could do even a little bit better than that. I like Texas Tech in this one.
If you like Texas Tech, it's money line, right? Let's face it, if you like them to cover 1.5 to 2, you like them certainly with the chance to win the game. When Chris opened the game 1, Texas Tech won, so it's kind of been all support for Oregon in this one, and both teams can adjust. I would say Texas Tech can adjust more, though, right? If it has to be a little bit of a grind, but I don't see a grind in this one. Both of these teams, I think they prefer to play more up tempo, and but they can adjust. Both teams are good enough to adjust to whatever the game dictates. So, I think we'll see Texas Tech. Well, even though it's been one-way traffic on Oregon so far, I think we'll see Texas Tech money as we get further into the week. And New Year's Day. Hey, bowl games on New Year's Day. What a concept.
I know. You know what, though, Vinny? My only beef is I wish this was the last game
Yeah,
of the day because I think this will be the game of the day.
And it's closer too. Yeah, with the number being what it is, Chris.
And
I
Oregon
could see that. I agree with you.
Oregon's become a public team in the last decade or so.
Good point.
So
good point.
and I can see why. They're a great team. They're a great program. Play exciting games. West Coast team. I can't say anything bad about Oregon. I just think Texas Tech is slightly better. That's all.
I'm with you. I mean, I did make them a small favorite too, but I'm going to spend my day tomorrow diving into these 4 matchups even more. I really want to see, because when I think about Oregon and their struggles, and it was Penn State, right? We saw that game go to overtime, and then Indiana was very sluggish, right?
They
and
got
then
their butts kicked by Indiana.
somehow got to 30-20 in that one, but I kind of want to rewatch those and see.
At their place, at Eugene.
Yeah, at Eugene, right?
Yeah.
So I think Texas Tech might be able to push them around a little bit too,
I think so
right?
too, yeah.
That defensive front. But to Vinny's point, I mean, we've got the 3rd team in points per game in Texas Tech and the 9th in Oregon, but 2 really good defenses too. Tech number 2 in points allowed and yards allowed, and Oregon 9th. So maybe first half looking under and jumping in game and seeing more points in the second half. But keeping it moving here, let's go Bama and Indiana. If you were ever to say a miracle and kind of got a free ticket, the Alabama Crimson Tide found a way, and they beat Oklahoma to get their shot up against Indiana here. Now you guys are at 7, a lot of 6.5s out there still. Vinny, if you do like the favorite. Rose Bowl, though, between these two, what do you see in a total of 48.5?
It did take the original 7, went to 6.5, but they laid it, and so back to 7. You have to give Alabama credit. I mean, they got in, they didn't, listen to all the noise. They got down, by double digits, right? 2 touchdowns, and came back at Norman, and won that game. And really, that was a tremendous second half that they played, and you've got to give them full marks for that. So, Indiana, I will say this team is better than they were a year ago, particularly on defense, and quarterback. Certainly a big advantage here. We know that Alabama has struggled to run the ball. If they can't run the ball in this game, I don't know how Simpson's going to fare having to get into a primary passing attack against this Indiana defense, Chris. This Indiana team is better than last year, no doubt.
Well, I made this number 8. Doesn't seem like much as opposed to 7, but that's a big 1 point. I think I'm not gonna, I have no plans on betting this game, but if I saw this game dip to 6 for some reason, that might be enough to get me to go, because that would be a big 2 points. But it's 7 right now. Not crazy about laying a full touchdown. I mean, it is Bama. They had a very impressive recovery from a very poor first half in their last game, and I have to respect that. And and I know Signetti's famous for saying, "Google me, I win." Well, DeBoer wins a lot too. I mean, he's won a lot. Vinny's laughing because I've made the joke. He's an arrogant Italian from Pittsburgh. That covers about half my friends. But listen, I think it's 2 really good coaches. I think the quarterback position goes strongly to Indiana at this point. If Simpson could play like he did in the first half of the season, probably narrows that margin quite a bit. But I'm not sure if we're going to get that or not. I don't know. But I do think at this point in time, Indiana, the kid looks like he's going to be the number 1 draft choice coming out this year, and Heisman Trophy winner and all that. Again, ton of respect for him and them and their program. Tend to like Indiana a little in this game, but like I said, 7 would probably scare me off.
I feel like might be a trendy dog a little bit, seeing Alabama getting a full touchdown.
Yeah.
But I didn't make it quite that high. I'm at 5, so I want to wait and see if more money comes in on Indiana, if I can get any more points here. Kind of got an extra life here, Alabama. I think they'll kind of just throw
Yeah.
the kitchen sink out there, but thinking they can hang around at least. It's a lot of points here.
Didn't all 4 bye
Yeah.
teams last year get beat? Right?
Did they all get beat?
I'm pretty sure. We can verify that. Our crack crew behind the curtain I think all 4 teams that had the bye last year wound up paying.
Was that Penn
paying
State?
the price?
Because it was,
So-
or
No,
was
Penn
it
State
Oregon?
didn't get a bye because Penn State
Yeah.
beat SMU.
So it was
that first game.
Boise, Oregon, Texas. Yep. And then I'm missing one. You are correct.
that-
I'm pretty sure you're right, Vinny, because that's
You know, there's something, even more of a rhythm. Even though it's a longer break, there's still, football especially is very
Yes.
rhythm oriented in terms of the way your week in terms of prep and recovery is laid out. So, a year ago, certainly a different story. So. But we'll see. I mean, again, it's only 1 year. It's a small sample size because of the first year of the 12-team playoff. But something to consider, I guess, in terms of your handicapping.
Last but not least, the Sugar Bowl. That'll be the last game of the day, and it's a rematch between Ole Miss and Georgia. Of course, no Lane Kiffin this time for the Georgia Bulldogs. Looking at that first matchup in Athens, Georgia won 43-35, 510 total yards. The Bulldogs had 221 rushing yards in that game. Ole Miss had 351 total yards. Really could make the argument that they should have won that game, though. Kind of gave it away there. But what do we think about this one? Georgia 6.5. Chris, total 56.5. Where'd your numbers come to?
I made it 5 in this game, and I had Ole Miss in that first game, and I took 7.5. They lost by 8. And I remember Chris Felica laid 7.5. And as soon as I saw that, I said, oh, man, I hate going against the Bear. But I think I had the right side in that game. I really think Ole Miss, they fell apart in that fourth quarter. I don't know if they're going to fall apart here or not. I don't know. I think the Lane Kiffin move, originally I thought it would really hurt them quite a bit. But they had a good showing without him. And, sometimes those kids might be trying to prove to Lane, you made a big mistake going to, a rival, essentially, going to LSU. I mean, that seems to be something that would stick in my craw if I was those kids. I think I don't think they'll lose focus. I don't know if they're good enough to beat Georgia, but I don't think the fact that Lane's not there is really going to hurt them. I kind of like the dog here. Like I said, I like the dog in the first game, lost by 0.5 point. That was in Athens. Now it's away from Athens. You figure it had to mean at least 1.5 points in the number.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm gonna come back with Ole Miss again in this one.
Really quick before Vinny jumps in. So last year, Sean did text me. It was Georgia because they did win the SEC last year. Boise State, Oregon, and then Arizona State.
Arizona State was the other one, right?
Lost to Texas, but I almost won that one. They were definitely the most competitive.
Look, this game, really hasn't been a lot of movement on this game. I mean, there'll be certainly carryover because this is the 5:00 game and everything will be going to it. But I wonder about Ole Miss. They won last week against they were a huge favorite last week and dominated at home. Was that their statement? And now you've got if there's Kirby Smart with extra time seems to benefit him. Even again a year ago with what we talked about with the bye teams, I'm not so sure that there's not going to be more support for Georgia in this game. I think we're going to wind up needing Ole Miss in this game. I'm actually a little surprised it has not moved just yet, but again, we'll see. But still a lot of talent on this Mississippi side, and I just don't know if there's still more players that are on this. I don't know if they're not going to get off to the kind of start they did a week in their last game. In this game, I would be very surprised if they did. That to me is going to be the measure of how they can, navigate this game.
It's a tough one. I did say earlier in the week too, when we were talking with Ed, that I thought first half, 3.5 with the Rebels
Okay.
might be the play. And I think I'm still leaning that way. I
want to see how
Kirby
they.
Smart is
yeah,
really good at making adjustments, right? So
yeah. I want to see how Mississippi reacts to getting punched in the nose first in this game under the, the changing circumstances for the team.
well, let's see what everybody who is watching us live thinks
Okay.
on this, because we do have our poll results here. So the question was semifinals insight. Which dog are you taking the points with this weekend in the CFP? Miami, Florida plus 9.5, Texas Tech plus 1.5, Alabama plus 7, and Ole Miss plus 6.5. It looks like Miami, Florida
Oh, really?
got
Wow.
most of the votes at 53%, and then Texas Tech
No kidding.
was
Okay.
second.
Wow.
Yes.
The bear factor.
The bear factor, Chris Felikas. Fighting Chris Felikas. I mean, if it got to 10, right? Would you be tempted? Or you said you
I
were right
made it
there at
9.5.
9.5.
I'm not going to jump in at half a point.
That's
you know.
right. I'm at 8, so I guess that would be a little closer for me there, but it'll be interesting. All right, last one before we take a break, and then we go to NFL to complete our rundown for Week 17. FCS, we have our title game set. Now, this is January 5th. Illinois State, man, if they can pull this off, this will be
Unbelievable.
one of the greatest runs. But they have to face Montana State, who is 10.5 right now, and the total 55.5. Have you seen any action yet on this one?
No, we just opened it. I think we opened it this morning. But so far no action. There's a couple 11s out in the market. I look at that Illinois State. You know who they remind me of? Again, you might be too young to remember this. I know Vinny would remember. Remember when Connecticut and the NCAA had that run? Who was the? I'm so bad with names. They barely got into the NCAA tournament, and they wound up winning the whole thing.
Oh, in college basketball,
yeah.
2011.
Is it
was
2000?
that?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Boatwright. I think Boatwright was the.
There was a guard. I can't remember.
But
But anyway, they barely got in. They run, and they all of a sudden they like found themselves. And I wonder if Illinois State is a similar situation. How did they get this far? They were not that good of a team all year, but they beat North Dakota State, the perennial champions, and they dominated that game. And just kept on winning since then. But I have kids that live in Montana, so I follow both the Montana schools. I'm a little bit more of a Grizzly fan than I am the Wildcats. But I know this team is good. I mean, they're really good. I know when they kick off, regardless of who we need, I'll be rooting for Montana State. I can tell you that. But Illinois State, what a great story. And I hope the national media picks up more on this tremendous story, what it is. And by the way, Montana State has won, I believe, 10 in a row now. They lost to Oregon and South Dakota State first 2 games of the year. Oregon, I can understand. How they lost to South Dakota State, I'm not sure. But, I think this is one hell of a team, a hell of a program, and, it should be a terrific game. I can't wait to see it.
Chrissy mentioned their first game where they upset the number 1 seed as double-digit dogs. I thought the game last week at Villanova.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that was a tremendous game that they played.
And another perennial powerhouse in this division.
A great defensive team, and Illinois State came through. By the way, it's their first trip to they've not won a title. It's their first trip to a title game in 11 seasons. So, yeah, maybe there's we see Cinderella. Chrissy referenced the NCAA basketball tournament. Maybe there's there's always a Cinderella there. Maybe this is a Cinderella story here. Certainly more, I would say, more successful history with Montana State, but they haven't won a title since the early 80s, like 84. And
remember when Nevada was in with the Big Sky with these teams, and I still think they should go back to Big Sky. But they're not going to go backwards. That's not going to happen. But they should have never left. Let's say that.
I don't know. I think there's going to be support for Cinderella in this game with
so too.
Double digits, Alex. I could see it really.
Yeah, we'll continue
I won't
to
be
track
surprised.
it.
And again, the game is in Nashville.
Yeah.
Yes.
By the way, did we? Okay. Yeah. So it's still on the 5th, and in Nashville. So it should be a terrific game. No doubt.
Nashville, Tennessee, January 5th. Yeah, they get their own spotlight right that day.
Good
so
for them.
We'll track it the
Good
next
for
week.
these
We'll break
schools.
it down a little bit more here on Sports by the Book as we get closer. But thank you, everybody who did participate and jump in and give us your thoughts on that poll question. We'll have another one coming up for the NFL, as well as probably ticker trivia. Maybe no ticker trivia on the Friday. We'll keep it with the polls, though. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we have a lot to talk about for Week 17. The Lions are out. The Packers are in. The big question is this a meaningful game for them on Saturday against the Ravens? And will that impact the Steelers game? We'll be right back here on Football Frenzy, Sports by the Book.
South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. If you're celebrating a special occasion or just love fine dining, you're in the right place. Come experience the crown jewel of South Point restaurants, Michael's Gourmet Room.
Welcome.
With over 600 different types of wines and magnificent dishes prepared tableside, you'll revel in the rich classic Vegas decor and the best black tie service in the world. This intimate gourmet room has earned accolades galore. Come to Michael's Gourmet Room for an unforgettable dining experience. Another famous restaurant is the Silverado Steakhouse, where you'll find the charm and service that discerning patrons require. From top quality steaks and chops to fresh seafood and desserts, you'll love the award-winning wine list and menu at Silverado Steakhouse. Steak lovers have even more options with primarily prime rib. Catering to hearty appetites, the menu features a variety of flavorful prime rib cuts, dry aged to ensure tenderness, and then seasoned and slowly roasted. Although prime rib is our specialty, it's not the only thing on the menu. There's something for everyone.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Football Frenzy, Sports by the Book. We are live from the South Point Hotel and Casino. We're live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. On Fridays, though, of course, we do start at noon Pacific time till 2 p.m. Pacific time. The rest of the week, 10 a.m. So please set those bookmarks. I just saw a note in the chat because we do have a goal here to reach by the end of the year for 2K subscribers. So thank you for everybody who double checked and who has hit that subscribe button lately, because we are climbing. We're almost there, just 40 away. So I think we can do it.
Oh, bet the over.
Bet the
40
over.
away. We got a week.
Yeah,
All right.
we got this. And Ralph helped us out a little bit too. So welcome if you are watching us from race day with Ralph
Tell your
Stracco.
friends and relatives.
Okay, let's get into it. Week 17, some meaningful games, some not so meaningful games. So we'll touch on all of them, but kind of skip over if they aren't too good. Chris, I did want to just tell you one little note. As I was going through Jeff Fogel's newsletter, and he's done something great all year, and he's keeping track of median numbers, touchdown scored, touchdown surrendered, right? I kind of broke it up. I wanted the top teams in both of those. So at least 3, a median for touchdown scored, and then 2 or fewer. 7 teams fit in those categories. 4 from the NFC, 3 from the AFC. I don't think you'll be surprised with the NFC, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Eagles, actually, so don't sleep on them, and the Packers. AFC, I think you guys might be a little more surprised. The Bills, the Patriots, and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I am surprised.
Steelers.
Their offense just doesn't seem that efficient. They don't have very many big plays. And then, of course, they've lost their one big play guy, DK Metcalf.
That's right.
So, I don't know.
I wanted to see, and I want to go back and see, the Super Bowl winners and kind of how their year was. But I thought of it with like Ken Palm. You know how we're always looking for a team that is top 10 defense efficiency and this and that. So, but yeah, Steelers. So we'll see. We'll see how they do. And it looks like they are looking good for this week because Lamar Jackson is doubtful now.
Right.
So
looks like he won't play.
If the Ravens lose, the Steelers are in. But let's get to it. 2 games tomorrow, and we're going to start right there with the Baltimore Ravens. Green Bay is now a 4.5-point favorite, Vinny, over Baltimore. The total is 40. Lamar Jackson doubtful. Jordan Love still questionable.
Yes.
But the better still like the Packers in this one, even though now there you have clinched. So that kind of makes me a little nervous too.
Yeah, and I think Alex, it looks Josh Jacobs is probable, I believe. So he's a big component, but he's been, you know what? I tell you what, he's battled through that knee for the better part of the last couple of months. So credit him for that. But without Lamar Jackson, I mean, and you just the turnovers.
Yes.
You got a situation with the Ravens with their absolute inconsistency in games and finding ways to, frankly, lose games. But I think with Love being questionable, once it's determined, if he's going to play, this game is going to continue to run, even though the Packers have clinched, because I think it's a matter of seeding too, right? To where, what's not, known right now is where everybody's going to play in those in the first round in particular of the playoffs. So there's still something there, an incentive for the Packers in this one, Chris. But Ravens have just all year just been way too inconsistent. They're not going to get out of this hole.
Well, I think the Ravens unquestionably are the disappointing team of the year. Maybe you could throw the Cowboys in there, but I think the Ravens were expected to be, certainly probably the second or third choice in the AFC. Now they're not even going to make the playoffs. By the way, I took my time putting this number up. It's not on our parlay cards. I didn't put the number up until yesterday because quarterback situations for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So we're talking about Love. We're talking about Malik Willis was hurt, for Green Bay. Then again, it looked, now I think it's pretty definitive that Lamar Jackson will not play in this one. And he's a huge difference maker. But there's some reports coming out, and, it's anonymous, that sort of thing. Lamar's fallen asleep in team meetings, and maybe John Harbaugh's kind of lost his message after all these years. He's been there almost 20 years, I want to say. So maybe the team has kind of tuned him out a little bit. They definitely have some issues, and I think going forward, they have to decide that they want to build around Lamar or they don't, because right now he's looking at one of those monster contracts, which, we posted that on our Twitter a while ago, that these contracts have been very detrimental to the teams that sign these quarterbacks. We have one of the top 10 quarterbacks salary-wise in the playoffs. Not forget Super Bowl, in the playoffs, and that's Matt Stafford. Other than that, all these guys are out. We'll get to Detroit a little bit later because they're looking at the same thing with Jared Goff next year. But right now, I don't know. I don't have an opinion in the game. I think I have to watch and see who's playing here. But this number's been all over. And I'm looking, some 3.5s are starting to show back up in the market. As a matter of fact, I am going to go make a phone call. I got to see what's going on.
Care of
I got another game I have to look at, too, because Max Crosby now is out for the Raiders. We've already flipped favorites in that, and I think we may need to flip that a little bit more. So anyway, I will be back.
Okay, as he takes a break, I was originally thinking a nice money line parlay, Vinny, here. If you take the Packers on the money line, then the Steelers are in. They may rest. It is a correlated parlay, right? Because then
Yes.
the Steelers would be in. You take the Cleveland Browns. So Chris said that he's already ahead of the bettors, and he knows that already.
Well, we've done this a couple of times.
But
you
maybe
know,
some shops will.
these last 2 weeks of the season where there's, I think the league has tried to have teams play at the same time with playoff implications
Yes.
related to each other. But
They have.
there was a time when we would take almost the entire afternoon slate, and at kickoff for the 10 o'clock games, the early games, the afternoon would be off until the results came in. And so, yeah, look, it's I know they're pros and they're fighting for jobs, which is something I always say, but also you have to be smart as a coach and stuff. If the game doesn't mean anything, you're not going to why would you risk your key personnel going into into a contest heading into the playoffs. So yeah, there's going to be some adjustments on limits and correlated plays.
Yeah. So watch this one, because I was already looking at Cleveland getting 3 or 3.5 against Pittsburgh. They did put up a good fight last week against Buffalo, and I mean, they're still playing. Shedeur Sanders is playing for a starting job for next year. And if Pittsburgh doesn't have to start Aaron Rodgers, I think he could use some extra time, extra rest.
We know Metcalf is suspended. By the way, he's suspended for next week as well. So he drew a double. Right, Alex? I know we're jumping, but
sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But you have to, because they're related. Watt he's back at practice, but really he missed a couple of games with the lung issue.
Right.
He was in the hospital last week. So how much is he going to play, if at all, too? Right. So there's all those aspects have to come into play. We're just talking about the Steelers, Chris, and what's needed. We know that Metcalf's out for both of these games. If they don't need this game, then how much of Rodgers are you going to see? What T.J. Watt, who was in the hospital last week, is back at practice this week. Does he even play at all? And so on. But
yeah, so we need to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
Love is out.
Okay.
That number has dropped to 3.5. So the 4.5 you see from us no longer exists. We actually have the game off the board, but the computer has not caught up with it yet. We'll probably repost it at 3.5 because we were always in question with that. The parlay that I was talking about, I'm not letting you. Well, like I said, not letting you. I'm not letting you for any big money, because if Green Bay wins, that means the Ravens are out of the playoffs. And like I just caught the tail end of what Vinny was saying. Do you play Rodgers? I'm not sure. I don't think you do.
No.
You play TJ Watt? Maybe, because he's missed the last couple of games. Maybe you give him a certain amount of snaps. But I'm not letting you bet that parlay from if you bet Green Bay to Cleveland. Yeah, because that would make a lot of sense. And there's guys out there just waiting to do that. I always told them, you could bet it for small amounts, but I'm not going to take a big parlay because,
That's exactly.
I've seen that routine too many times.
Yeah.
But right now, Love looks like he is out for Green Bay. That number got significantly lowered because we're looking at Malik Willis for the Packers.
We are looking at Malik Willis, but he has not practiced yet this week either.
We have it off the board, I can tell you that. So it's going to be a lot lower when it does go up.
I don't know what they would do, but kind of the same situation. If Jordan Love was not fully cleared out of concussion protocol, why play him? They are clinched now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe that's part of it. But he I just talked to our office, and he is out. Love is out.
Okay. So Love is out. Lamar Jackson is still doubtful. They have not officially ruled him out, but has not practiced at all this week either. All right, let's go to the other big game on Saturday. I think this would be the game of the weekend, but we have a huge NFC showdown on Sunday night. So for the AFC, though, the Chargers are a 1-point favorite at home against the Houston Texans. Total 39.5, Chris. Now, remember last week, Chargers went to Dallas, kind of did what they wanted, shut down their offense in the second half. Houston played pretty poorly against the Las Vegas Raiders. So what are we thinking in this one without trying to overreact too much from what we saw last week?
Well, I think this line shows an overreaction. I think right now, had we made this line 2 weeks ago, it would have been pick 'em. And that's what my numbers come to. Again, teams are never as good or as bad as you saw them play last week. And you're right. Houston played poorly against one of the worst teams in the league. Chargers, on the other hand, looked fantastic against an inconsistent team, but still a dangerous team, obviously. And I think this line is an overreaction to what we saw last week. My numbers come to pick 'em. And again, if I was out there playing, I'd probably look to play a money line on the Texans. What do we have it? Plus 110. You probably get plus 115, 120, maybe in some spots. I think there would be some value in taking the Texans there. Still have a ton of regard for D'Amico Ryans, ton of regard for C.J. Stroud. Love their defense. One of the best in the league. You can see by the totals, 39.5. Nothing. I mean, listen, I like Harbaugh a lot as a coach. I love the Chargers defense. And I think Herbert, like I said, he's just that one notch below the absolute top guys in the league. So nothing really against the Chargers. But I think this Houston team, let's not throw them out just because they had, one poor game, which, by the way, they still wound up winning that game. So, I think that this number is a bit of an overreaction to last week.
Chargers sneaky good, and because everybody's talking about, obviously, the Broncos. And actually, when you think about it, there's been more talk about the Chiefs not making the playoffs than what the Chargers have accomplished in the last month in particular. So maybe sneaky good is not the right word because they do have the respect of their opponents and the bettors. But, we'll learn a little bit more about both of these teams. This is going to be a pretty big game. I think it's going to be a pretty physical game. We talk about the Texans defense. Chargers defense is really what I think is played a big part for their success, particularly in the last month. So, this is a nice game for Saturday. And again, of the two on Saturday, this one's going to have a lot more meaning to it, a lot more juice to it.
Vinny Dean Hild actually wrote in the chat his dark horse is the Chargers to get to
I could
the
see
Super
it.
Bowl. And
yeah, Dean.
you can get a pretty good number on them because of the Broncos, the Patriots, those teams
What do I got
ahead
then?
of them.
22-1 or something like that?
Down to
20. Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. We still do pretty good on church. So I have a decent price on them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just to remind everybody, playoff revenge. Remember Justin Herbert's worst game of the year last year against the Houston Texans.
Mm-hmm.
That also plays into how good that
point,
defense
Alex.
is and when it started from last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, though, so in my mind, because I have not bet this yet, the other thing is the injuries on the Chargers offensive line haven't fully showed up, but against this defense,
Maybe they will.
It's going to be tough for them. So might be an underplay for me too in that one. All right, let's go to the Sunday slate. Let's start out with the pretty meaningless one here, but you're asking a not so good team to lay over a touchdown at home. The Bengals 7.5, Vinny, at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Total 53. Cardinals have been an awful covering team, though, especially as of late.
Yeah, and they're bet against. There are teams that Chris mentioned in the first segment about public teams, and there are public teams that get bet against too. This is the Cardinals have been one of them. And again, tremendous amount of injuries. I mean, both these teams had injuries all season long, but everybody does, right? Hendrickson's still out defensively for the Bengals. Burrow missed a lot of time, but the Cardinals have probably one of the longest injury lists in the league. They laid the 7 with this game, and laying 7. We're going to need the Cardinals in this game, and we've needed them particularly for the better part of the season, and especially in the last month. So, they're betting favorite and over in this game, and not a real surprise, Chris.
Not a surprise at all. I moved this fairly quickly this morning. I went to 7.5. When I moved it, we were the only 7.5 in the market. Now I'm looking around. There's a lot of 7.5 in the market, but I just tried to get ahead of it. You mentioned, Alex, that Arizona is a non-covering machine, and that was really a big influence here. They just haven't covered a number in I don't know how long. Well, Cincinnati, I think right now, we're probably getting the best Cincinnati version since Burrow went out after a couple weeks. He's still a very legit quarterback. And, I just right now, it would be very hard pressed for me to bet Arizona. I made this number 9.5. Just maybe not quite getting to 10. I keep talking about diminishing returns. Maybe that would be the case here. But this 7 to me was way too cheap on this game. And, we got played on the favorite, but I moved it pretty quickly. And it's not too often that I move off 7 quickly. But I did in this case because I think sometimes when you breach that wall at 7, you're going to 9 before you get any resistance. And I don't know if we're going to 9 on this game or not. But according to my numbers, it should be at 9.5 already. So I went quickly to the 7.5. And, if I was betting at this point, I'd have favorite or pass.
I might be interested in a 9.
Okay.
that might be the
Stick
number.
around. Stick around.
But, I mean, it's been pretty brutal for Arizona. I just don't think they are very well coached. I think
agree.
Brissett has been good enough. Even Ed Fang said, right, his numbers were actually better than Kyler Murray's this year. But
I was surprised how good he had Brissett rated. And I've always been an advocate of Brissett. I liked him an awful lot. But I was surprised Ed had the numbers to back that up, which made me feel a little better, I have to admit.
High total. I think meaningless game. Both defenses really have struggled. And I would look at McBride because there's a betting angle against the Bengals and tight ends. And he is a leading receiver in.
He's one of the best tight ends in the league.
He has definitely gotten there now. All right, let's keep it moving. Seattle, big favorite on the road against Carolina. This is a tough one for me. I would be on the favorite in this one on the road, but Panthers are still playing for a lot too. I mean, they could wrap up the division here with the win. So total 42.5, Vinny. And then, as I mentioned, Seattle, a touchdown favorite on the road.
Well, I think they need to win this game, the Carolina, and then they finish the season.
They do have another head-to-head with Tampa
Bay. So a big game here to keep pace. What's curious is that the Seahawks have opened 7. They've stayed at 7. There hasn't been a lot of moves. So that tells me that I would say pros in particular, professional bettors, are looking for more. And so they think maybe that they might be able to get 7.5. And I think if it gets there, there'll be a take on the number. But Seattle has played well. I've got them as my number 2 team in terms of power ratings. No real surprise. Defense is solid, serviceable. Look, they've beaten that game against the Rams was said a lot. I mean, and the Rams. I think the Rams will make corrections, but that could be the kind of game that vaults this team. But Seattle, Carolina has played better, and they're very tough at home. So, but I'm just curious, Chris, why this number hasn't moved already. They didn't take the 7, they didn't lay it, so it's kind of interesting.
It's a good number,
right? Yeah,
that's my numbers came to 7, and I'm with Vinny. They're Seattle's my number 2 ranked team behind only the Rams. But I come to 7, the Panthers, Jeff Fogel will give you, by the way, everybody go get Jeff Fogel's newsletter. You're crazy if you don't. But anyway, I have Carolina with a 2-point home field advantage, which is I think I have one team at 2.5. So they are tougher at home for no question about it. But I made this number 7. Like Vinny said, it hasn't moved. I think the reason is that's a really good number. I can make a case for the dog. I can make a case for the favorite. And God bless. Like I said, I hope we write a ton of business and and the game doesn't come anywhere near the number. That would be my hope here.
The NFC West is so intriguing right now because Seattle, with that win, still has a shot at the number 1 overall, but
we'll get to another team from the NFC West a little later, too.
Yes, we will. And that is going to be a great game, too. But I made it 9, so that's why I said I'd lean a little bit. But, the Panthers are sneaky, and we saw them beat the Rams when nobody expected it. So could be a weird spot here for Seattle. But if I were to play it, I would be on the favorite. You mentioned the favorite flip here for Las Vegas and the Giants. So the Raiders were a 1.5-point favorite at home, but now it is flipped. With the news, no Max Crosby, no Brock Bowers.
Right.
So anything really to say in this one? Total 41.5?
I have to say, I really like the Giants in this game. And I think we talked about an overreaction to last week's performance with the Chargers and Houston. I think we got the same thing here. I think the Raiders played a hell of a game. They really did. God bless. They played a terrific game. Does that mean they're any good? I'm sorry, it does not. And the Giants, not that they're any good either, but then you start factoring in, got to be the Raiders' 2 best players.
Yeah.
I mean, who else would it be? I don't know. I mean, Genty, he's not up to the level of these 2 guys. So their 2 best players are out. What's that say in the locker room? Got to say, oh, man, come on. This is just going to be too tough. And I think the Giants are still playing hard. And, again, what did they do last week? Refresh my memory.
They lost.
Yeah, they lost last week. So I think it's an overreaction. Their loss. And
it was tough. It was Vikings, and they lost J.J. McCarthy in that game.
Yeah, okay.
So they were right in it, too. But that's a good defense. We just saw it.
I think it's an overreaction to a little bit to what the Giants did, but a huge overreaction to what the Raiders did last week.
16-13, right?
Yeah, I like the Giants in this game. I think that the original favorite was dead wrong. As a matter of fact, when I stepped outside to make that phone call, one of the things I did is let's go to 1.5 with the Raiders. There's no 1.5 in the markets yet, except for at the South Point, but I wanted to be ahead of it because I think right now, without those 2 guys, the Raiders, listen, they're in a lot of trouble with those 2 guys. Without them, they're even more desperate.
Who's got the worst offensive line in this game? And it's clearly the Raiders. I mean, their offensive line has had issues since before the season started. So I think, Giants will have a lot of support at Allegiant Stadium. That's for certain. And we're once again we're going to need the silver and black. Although I've got to tell you, Jackson Dart, love his spirit, love his fire. He should talk to Geno Smith about taking hits, as particularly. As many as he's taken, especially this early in his career. But, we'll see. But we'll need the Raiders.
Joe Burrow and Andrew Luck.
Sure.
Otherwise this kid's going to be, Andrew retired at 29.
Yeah.
Burrow, I think, is now 29, and he's been beat up more than Andrew Luck was. But Dart's on a trajectory to get beat up even more.
Yeah.
Like I said, this league has put rules in place to protect the quarterback. If you are a quarterback, and this kid's he's still on his rookie contract. When he signs that second contract, he's looking at multi-millions. Go protect yourself.
Yeah.
And you're not doing anything wrong. The rules are there for you to be protected. Take advantage of it.
It's the best time in history to be an NFL quarterback. It was safe, maybe the safest time. Right? So
it is intriguing because this is the bottom of the AFC and the bottom of the NFC, right? So loser gets closer to having that number 1.
Yeah, but those guys
overall.
don't want the number 1 pick. The management might want
That's
it, but
right.
these kids on the field, they don't want it.
again, jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think it'll end up being a pretty competitive game, and they'll be playing till the end there. But I would lean that way as well. As you mentioned, 2 best players on both sides of the ball for Las Vegas out. All right, Chris, we talked about weather around here. How's the weather looking for Cleveland and Pittsburgh? And again, pay attention to this one because if Green Bay wins tomorrow, then the Ravens are officially out and the Steelers win that division. But right now you're at Pittsburgh 3 and the total 34.
Yeah, bad weather. Another reason where if Pittsburgh does not need the game, I could see them sitting Rodgers, let Mason Rudolph take the snaps. I don't know about Watt. I listen, it's kind of a fluky thing what happened to him. But nonetheless, he did have to undergo surgery. He's been out a couple of weeks. If I were Tom, listen, I don't, I'm not the coach Mike Tomlin is, but I would think you might want to play him maybe half the snaps. And again, if they don't need the game, if they need the game, they're going all out, believe me. And one more thing I would tell you about Pittsburgh does not want to lose to Cleveland.
Yeah.
That is, it's an underrated, quote unquote, rivalry because Cleveland doesn't win very often. But I'm just telling you, there is a lot of animosity between these 2 teams. And Pittsburgh does not want to lose to Cleveland no matter what, whether they need the game, don't need the game, forget all that. Now, Tomlin may not want to play some of the guys, but when those guys are on the field, trust me, they want to win this game and they want to win it bad.
We talked about the weather. This is another weather spot too.
Definitely,
right?
yeah.
Just check the wind. But even though this may be an in game for a lot of folks, just to see who's playing and who's not, who is opting out, who's going to get limited minutes too. I was telling Chris when you had to step out about how we used to have to take the afternoon games off, but the NFL's put the teams together more in the same time frame.
They would have never done it without the bookmaker.
That's yes.
You know that.
But we took the games off, and there was all that action now. And by the way, there were no 125 starts,
right?
And there were no 105. It was 1 o'clock, and of course now we joke, off air about it. The starting time means nothing anymore. So now there was literally no time to book a lot of because the early games were ending, going into the afternoon games, and you're sitting there saying, "Wait a second, So Chris is right. Yeah, don't think that bookmakers and bettors haven't entered into scheduling since 30 and 40 years ago. But anyway, this game has come down. It was initially was higher with the Steelers as 4.5-point favorites. It's an adjustment too. We know that Metcalf is out, and by the way, he's out next week too. Pretty selfish on his part, as his team is playing for the playoffs and playoff position. So, but low total as well. Just kind of, we book the games. You don't have to bet every game. So you're gonna have to really pay close attention to what's happening and watch what happens with the Ravens. Right? I mean, that's going to be the key, the telltale.
Next one, let's go to Tennessee here. The 5-10 New Orleans Saints on the road against the Titans, who are coming off a big win over the Chiefs. 2.5-point road favorite. Vinny. Total 39.5 has not moved off that 2.5.
No, it hasn't. And I will tell you this: I have a lot of respect for the Saints and Chuck what they've done. Here's a team that could have absolutely mailed it in, and they were competitive in a lot of their games too. But the way they've performed, particularly in the last month, this is a team. Again, I don't want to overreact. Their belief right now is that they found their quarterback, I think. Now, they need a lot of other help and whatnot. But, and again, they are a road favorite, but they're on a road favorite against the weakest ranked team in terms of certainly a power rating. That's where they have the edge in this game, is at quarterback, which is the key position. So I think it's going to be a wait and see. This will be one of the lower handled games of Sunday, Chris.
Yeah, you know that one TV in the corner that I could barely see? That's where this game will be. My numbers come to 2.5. But I always say, be careful of that 2.5. If the Saints were the right side, we'd be at 3. Otherwise, I kind of like the Saints, but that number and the fact that it has not moved has scared me a little bit. So I'd keep an eye on that movement. If it goes to 3 Sunday morning, you'll know you have some wise guys in favor of the Saints. If it doesn't go, it means the wise guys like the dog. The gun to my head, I'd probably play the dog. As bad as and the Saints have played well last probably 5-6 weeks. They may have found their quarterback in Tyler Shuck. I think they have a good chance of finding their quarterback. But you know what? Tennessee's played a little bit better too. You know, they were the bottom of my power ratings. They're no longer at the bottom. I hate to say Las Vegans. I got the Raiders and the Jets, and another Las Vegan sitting right next to me.
Brian's not here, but his spirit lives on.
Yeah. But anyway, like I said, I'm looking very much at the number, and I think action will tell you what the right side is in this game.
So I did make it 1.5. So I was eyeing that 2.5 here with the Titans, and they have been playing a lot better. Cam Ward's been playing better, and just kind of has them rallied around him, right? So, yeah, it's tempting, but I haven't got there fully yet with that one.
That's a good point, Alex, that you make. Excuse me, but the Saints players have rallied more around Shook than the Titans players around Ward.
Well,
bigger sample size too, though. I think.
Yes.
For Ward.
But it was tough for Spencer Rattler with the Saints, right?
Yeah.
And since we've seen them make that change, has been a big difference there. How about this one? Tampa Bay needs it. Got to have it. They are a road favorite against Miami. 6 now here at the South Point. Total 44.5. Last time we saw the Dolphins, a lot of mistakes, A lot of turnovers. Bengals really ran away with that one. But Tampa Bay, I mean, they're on the outside looking in right now. So I'm not too confident Chris laying points with them.
This is another situation. Sir, I bet up against both teams. I think they're both playing bad.
Yeah.
You know, my numbers only came to 4, and I think, you know, not to say anything especially nice about Miami, but go back and look at Tampa Bay over the last 8 weeks of the season. They've been terrible. And you know, Baker Mayfield, I kind of want to root for him because I know a lot of guys knock him, and you know, there's some validity to knocking him like that. You know, he is very up and down, and then he's led his team to some great wins, and he's, you know, had some close losses, but nonetheless, there's still a lot of losses in that. What, they lose 7 out of 8, something like that. I mean, they're really not playing very good football, and then you're asking them to lay points on the road. I don't know. Gun to my head, I would take Miami. I only made the number 4 in this game, and you know, at 6. You know, listen, you know the way it is in this league. Anytime over 3.5, you really got to start looking at that dog. And I'm looking at the dog here. I think I like Miami.
You know, it's been one-way traffic on the Buccaneers in this battle of Florida. But you know, this game and the next game, which features the Colts, you had the Bucs and the Colts in absolute command of their division for the first half of the season. And now look at this now. The Colts are out of it, and the Buccaneers are fighting for their playoff lives here. This is a game they absolutely have to have. And I think given the changes in Miami, particularly under center, and a lot of other players, it's just the chemistry doesn't seem real good in Miami these days. And the Bucs in a must-win situation, I think that's the perception of the bettors, and that's why they've taken this game from 4.5 up to 6. Yeah.
Lost 6 of their last 7 and 7 of their last 9.
Wow. Tampa.
Yep. And wins over New Orleans and Arizona in that span.
That's 7 out of the last 9 when they're 2 wins.
Yeah.
That's not very good.
Honestly, and the Dolphins, Quinn Ewers, I felt like the vibes were pretty good for the first half, and then a couple turnovers, things didn't go their way, and that game just kind of took on a life of its own.
Yeah,
but
they're not very good, you know. But you're getting 6 points at home against another team that's not very good.
Yeah, we'll see. That is the way I would lean as well. Going to Jacksonville and the Colts. Don't know what to make of this one here. The Jags are a 6-point road favorite, total 48.5. Got to give it to the Jaguars because they have been playing really good and maybe are the real deal here going into the playoffs. But the Colts are trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. They're catching 6 points at home. I'm not sure if we will get Phillip Rivers again. I'll have to look into that right now. But Chris, what'd you originally make this number?
I mean, this game's 7. You know, I think this Jaguar team just keeps getting better and better and better. And I've said over the years, and we talked to Ed about it the other day, tough to bet momentum in the NFL. But what exactly does that mean? You know, and I think this is a team that's showing legit improvement with a quarterback who we've been waiting to emerge for the last 4 or 5 years. He may have found the right coach to push the right buttons. And this team suddenly believes, and not just believes. I mean, look at it. This team is playing really good ball. And listen, I don't care what happens the rest of the year. I'm going to give Phillip Rivers all the accolades I could possibly give. To come back at 44, he's played well, and he played exceptionally well last week. So I'm not too crazy about laying points against him in this spot. I did make the game 7. I don't have a beef with the 6 because I think Phillip's, you know, and I'd be surprised if it's not him playing this game because they're still technically alive. But I'll tell you, damn it, this guy, that's a man and a half. I'll tell you, 44 years old with grandchildren coming out and playing this game as well as he did. I'll tell you, I think he can keep in. My numbers come to 7. But I got no beef with the 6. I think that number's fine.
They took the 6.5. I don't know why they wouldn't play him, unless he doesn't want to, but I don't
Yeah,
think so.
I think he
Will be
wants
the
it.
starting quarterback.
Yeah,
Yep, with Riley Leonard as the backup. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. Maybe
Yeah.
if they would try and see what they have, and a short week, I was kind of worried, but he's in it now.
Yeah, look, I mean, he's a warrior, and give him credit. We've learned a lot about Jacksonville, right? They had a good start, then they faltered a little bit, and then they've really you have to take your cap off to them for what they've done the last few. So this is going to tell us more about the Jags in this game than it's going to tell us about the Colts. We know the Colts are beat up. All right, Phillip Rivers, what he's done and what he can and may or may not be able to do here. But if the Jags have arrived, then this is the game where they need to, take care of business. So, but the fact of the matter is, they didn't lay the 6.5; they took the 6.5. So there's belief in the Colts here, and they've just not been able to close the deal the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe again, don't forget, you can bet every first half here at the South Point as well. So.
I would
They-
not
they-
hate that at all.
No,
They ran into a really good team last week.
they did.
2
And
weeks
hung-
in a row.
And hung in
Seattle.
there. Yeah.
And
And
then
hung in there the
Niners.
whole
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, my hat's off to Phillip Rivers. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
geez,
He's a kid.
he's a kid at heart. But I'll tell you what, one thing, it goes to show you how much the intellect plays in
Oh yeah.
in playing quarterback in
Right.
this league. And he sees things. Now he had that one bad pick 6 where they saw it before he did. But other than that, I mean, he sees things. He sees that whole field. He understands the game of football really, really well. To beat another horse to death. These kids that come out of college with only a handful of starts. You better coach them up quick. But you're going to see a lot of these guys are going to falter early on until they get that experience. We could talk about it all you want. I could show you all the films you want. But if you're not out there in the quote unquote fog of war while this is going on, you can't respond as quickly as a guy like Phillip Rivers, even though he's 44 years old and his arm's still pretty good, but it's nowhere near what it was, nowhere near what it really should be. And he doesn't have that mobility in the pocket, but he could still see the field and see what's going on out there. I said, kudos to him.
I've only got a 3.5, so it's definitely a lean to taking the
Okay.
points here with the Colts. I do think it is a very meaningful game, but I mean, just to be truth, and transparent, I was on the Broncos last week against the Jags, so I might still be too low on them. We'll find out this week, but let's keep it going. 3 more on Sunday. The Patriots, almost 2 touchdowns here, Vinny, against the Jets, minus 13.5, and the total 43. Anything we can do with this one?
Just watch it or not. No, it's hasn't moved, Alex.
Hasn't
13
moved.
and 43, 13 and a half and 43. Patriots are going to be in every exotic money line parlays and certainly in, even though they're 9-1 favorite, teasers. I don't know. The Jets, they just continue to find ways to, I don't want to say lose games only, but perform poorly. Their takeaways are they're basically non-existent. They were one of the highest penalized teams in the league last year, and they're right near the top again this year. They just don't play smart. You've got guys certainly that are fighting for jobs, but you got a lot of uncertainty in the coaching staff. Although I think the head coach Aaron Glenn is still going to be there. It's his first year, but you don't see improvement as a team nor in the organization. And again, draft capital, okay, great, but you still have to evaluate and execute the draft wisely. They've had draft capital for the better part of the last decade. What have they done with it? But those guys are pretty much gone. That's who they traded to get more draft capital. So it's disappointing, but biggest number on the board this week, no real surprise. And the Patriots, give them credit. By the way, Vrabel did interview with the Jets too. So another good move. It's not just about drafting the right players, it's about hiring the right coach. But it's there it is. Chrissy?
Well, they draft capital Sam Darnold. Okay, then they draft capital Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Wilson was definitely a mistake, but Darnold, they had the right guy. But like, this is where coaches and players, this is where they go to die. And it starts at the top of the organization with Johnson and filters all the way down. It's not happens. And again, that's something I've said for years, that not mediocrity. What's the word I'm looking for? It's an illusion.
Parity?
Parity is an illusion, because this team's just been horrible for really since, Rex Ryan had them playing some pretty good ball at the beginning of this century. But since then, they've been nothing but a disaster. And, they could draft capital all they want. My bet is they'll still be terrible next year. Anyway, I made this number 14. I have no opinion in this game.
You made it 14. I'm only at 10, but I'm not
Don't go
get
to
involved.
strangers.
I will not be getting involved in that one. We'll see how it plays out. Patriots, kind of weird last 2 weeks, right? They give up a big lead, and then they do it to the Ravens and have a nice come from behind victory there. We'll see how they respond, and as long as they don't take them lightly in this one. Last two ones, big games. Eagles, Bills. Bills opened as a bigger favorite than they are right now at home. 2.5 inning down to 1, total 44.
Yeah.
We've seen the Eagles win 2 in a row, but not against great opponents here.
Oh, they've taken the point, everything from 2.5 down to the 1 with the Eagles. Look, the thing about it is with the Bills, there'll be some Bills support in this game. There's no doubt about it. But I think the Eagles, they seem to have righted things in the last couple of weeks, Alex. But look, it doesn't. The Bills, as long as Josh Allen is healthy, they can score. And it doesn't matter what the game situation is or what the game score is. They're never out of the game because of Josh Allen. Now, that said, you got a lower total here than we've seen in recent weeks with the Bills because of because of the Eagles' defense, right? And so now injuries on the Eagles' defense. Let's see if they're getting, because they bet this game under 2. Now again, not going to be real good weather up there, so that may be playing into it.
It didn't look like it was going to be terrible there.
Really?
By Sunday, it may some of this weather may clear out. In eastern New York, upstate New York, but for the Eagles on the defensive side, I think that it's saying that they may get a little bit healthier defensively
I think you
too.
are right.
So I would say that's the reason for the support for Philly in this game so far, Chris. But there'll be Bills money, as we know.
Professionals that I know and respect are on the dog in this game. My number still came to 2. Again, that's not enough to really play. But I got to tell you, I think Buffalo is one of those teams. They have a pretty good home field advantage. I give them 2 points for the home field. So I have these two teams equal. Lane Johnson looks like he will be back for Philadelphia.
I'm seeing more. It might be Jalen Carter on the defensive side.
Oh.
Lane Johnson, he was supposed to be.
Yeah,
but he has not practiced yet.
Okay, I was listening to a friend of ours, Joe Fortenbaugh, the other day, who's from Philadelphia. His wife's from Buffalo, so he has kind of pretty good insight. But he thought Lane Johnson was going to be back, and he thought that was a big key to this game. Now, we've talked about Lane Johnson quite a bit during this show. He's their running tackle, and this has been the running game that is really kind of failed Philadelphia this year.
Right.
Now, what's it say? Excuse me. What's it say about Jalen Carter?
Jalen Carter's, he is likely to play.
Yeah, I think he's.
I got to tell you what though, he's not had a great year. He's not. He has lost a step from last year. Now, maybe it's some injuries that he could overcome next year or whatever. But right now, he has not been the same player. I don't know. I'm not going to get involved in this game. Whatever we wind up needing is what we need. But I did make this number 2. But like I said, all the wise guys I respect are on the dog. But listen, we've seen it before. Sometimes they're wrong as much as anybody. But that's where the money is. And like Vinny says, we will get some Buffalo money. And I think we will. This is in the late afternoon window. So this is going to be a big game for us. But I got to tell you, I'm really anxious to see this one. This is going to be a good game.
Yes, it is.
2 afternoon games, by the way, Sunday. Look at the schedule.
That's good enough.
I'm just saying. I mean, we have 5 games played on yesterday and Saturday.
So a lot of rain, but wind, no. I mean,
Okay.
just 6 to 8 miles per hour.
Oh, is that what they're saying for wind?
I
Okay.
think
That's what I'm seeing for wind.
the
And
front will clear out for the most part.
I mean, like 40 degrees. It's pretty good, isn't it? In
For
Buffalo?
Buffalo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 44 seems pretty low. Both these defenses are definitely can be had, right?
I think so, yeah.
So, but let's go to the late game here. This is a huge one for the NFC. Could get the number 1 seed. Both teams do need some help, but it starts with a victory here. You guys were one of the first, Chris, to go to 3.5. I saw Niners 3 most of the week. You guys are at 3.5 now. Total 52.5. High total. Again, both of these defenses, especially their secondaries, can give up some points here. What do you think? What's your number come to? And do you like either side?
Well, my numbers come to 4. And I do kind of like the Niners. Now, again, we're cutting it pretty close. But once you get over 3 in your handicap, that's something you may want to look at and give careful consideration to. Listen, I mean, a lot of credit has to go to Ben Johnson. I mean, he went into his organization, has a great history in a lot of ways, but has a poor history in a lot of other ways. And he had what he felt was the right quarterback. Now, I wasn't so sure about the right quarterback, and I could tell Ed Feng isn't so sure about the right quarterback either. I think he still has a lot of issues. Can they be coached out of him? I think they can. I think a lot of it, well, it's going to be on Ben Johnson, but it's also going to be on Caleb Williams to listen to Ben Johnson and do what he wants to do. I still think he tries to make too many big plays on every snap. And, we've talked about it before. Sometimes the punter is your best friend as a quarterback. And I'm not sure Caleb understands that. On the other hand, I think Brock Purdy is legit. And he's always going to have that stigma of being Mr. Irrelevant. And like I said, he's kind of got that baby face a little bit. But damn, this kid produces. He is really a good quarterback. And as much as Mac Jones played well and I think made himself a ton of money, wouldn't mind seeing the Steelers sign him in the offseason. But he's not as good as Brock Purdy. And this whole organization, from Lynch on down, I mean, I think this is one. And Robert Saleh coming back to that defense. Yep. And, I think right now this is one of the best run organizations. And I think when you look at Chicago, I have big questions about their defense. Still have questions about the Niners defense. But again, to talk about Saleh, what a great job he's done. He's missing his 2 best defensive players from the entire year, pretty much.
Right.
And he's done a great job. I just have more confidence in the Niners at this point. And I don't give them a big home field advantage, only 1.5. So I think this is a pretty strong team. And if they keep winning, they don't have to leave the state of California if they make it all the way to the Super Bowl. And that's a long way away. But this is a pretty good team. And somebody said all they have to do is win their last 2 games. Yeah, they're playing the Bears in Seattle. That's not exactly easy. All they have to do is win the next 2 games. But I like the Niners in this one.
Playoff preview, maybe. Again, Chris hit on a point about the organization. This is the absolute opposite of the Jets, let's say, right? Because it's an organizational issue for success or failure of a team. And by the way, think about this. 2 of the more creative offensive minds going head-to-head here, which is another reason probably why, and the secondaries being injured and very susceptible. This is a game that's moved up 2.5 points and climbing in terms of the total. I think this total is going to continue to go up. So, a good game, the primetime game. Obviously, there'll be carryover going to it. Probably more carryover to the Niners. This may be more of a. I could see this being more of a professional bettor versus casual bettor type game here, where the pros may be waiting for a higher number with the Bears. Public, I think, is going to be all over the Niners. And they're playing some of their best ball. And they're getting a little bit healthier overall, too, in San Francisco.
Both 11-4 coming into this one.
Mhm.
So it should be a good one. This is the first one I actually circled, like in the Niners, too, because I made it 5. So
Mhm.
got to get the 3. I want that 3.5. But really, I think it comes down, as Vinny said, 2 really good offensive-minded head coaches. But I think Kyle Shanahan's one of the best to exploit the weaknesses.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the Bears are not great against the run. Maybe we see CMC have a great game again, like last week.
bit.
I mean, the Colts were 5th against the run, and he still had 117 rushing yards in that matchup. So
When he's healthy, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
one
He's
of the
had some
best.
health issues over the
definitely.
years.
It kind of, I mean, he's the favorite to win comeback player of the year. Kind of stinks. It kind of takes him out of offensive player of the year, which I think he could most definitely be in that
Yeah.
conversation. But right now it is JSN, the favorite from the Seattle Seahawks, who is having a terrific year as well. Last but not least, Monday night, the Rams coming off of that brutal loss to Seattle have to go to Atlanta. They're laying 8, though, on the road against the Falcons. Chris, total 49.5 for Monday night.
Oh, gosh. I made the number 11.5, but I'm not sure I want to jump in, anytime over 7 in the NFL. Again, I keep using the term diminishing returns, but you have to watch out for that, particularly on the road. I mean, Atlanta, again, we're talking about a team poorly coached, spent money on Kirk Cousins, and then wound up drafting another quarterback behind them. We've talked about organizations. This Atlanta has not been a good organization. They had that one year, and even there, they blew the 28-3 lead against New England. They'll probably never live down. But, just they make a lot of mistakes. But, I mean, do I want to lay 8 on the road? I really don't. Probably come game time, I'm going to need the Falcons because we're talking about a huge weekend with a lot of play. And even if we kind of split with some of the favorites, there's some big games out there. I think we're going to have a lot of money heading into the Rams. Don't be surprised if you see a 9 come Monday night. But I'm not too enthused about needing either team here, but I'm going to probably need the Falcons.
I'm with Chris. This game will go up. This is a game for the Rams to try to sort some things out defensively. We've seen in the last few weeks where their defense has, which was very solid, along with their offense for the better part of the year. But this is a game where they need to sort things out defensively on the road and try to get back on track. I mean, they were the number 1 seed not so long ago. They still have a chance to achieve that, but they're going to need a little bit of help, and they have to take care of business, and it has to start here. So, from the analysis side of it, they've got to sort some things out defensively. From the bookmaking side of it, we're going to need the Falcons, no doubt.
Rams, all they can really do is win their 2 games, right? They have this one against the Falcons, and then they have the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
So while the Niners and Seattle are playing each other,
Mhm.
Yeah.
they got to just take care of business and
care.
try and get some help
Yeah.
there to get that number 1 seed back. But should be great weekend. Should be interesting down to the wire here to see. A couple divisions were clinched just yesterday, but still a lot to go.
Mhm.
So the stakes are high. Taking a look at our poll, hopefully you jumped in. The question was about the divisions and which team looking to win their division on Sunday are you going to be betting on? Is it the Panthers +7 against the Seahawks, the Bears +3.5 against the Niners, the Jags -6 against the Colts, or the Steelers -3 at Cleveland? I picked the Steelers, but I didn't read the question right. I'm not going to be betting on them. I thought they would get it done with the help of a loss by the Ravens. So let's see what the chat had to say. It looks like it was very close, but it goes to the Jags at the Colts, getting 39% of the vote. Not far behind was the Steelers at 33%. But I think they might get it done without having to win the game. So we'll see. I mean, a lot of issues.
Well, with no
there.
Jordan Love, though, you never know.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's kind of even now. Well, and both backups if Lamar Jackson
Mhm.
doesn't play. But that's it for us. Pretty good.
Okay.
2-10. So
All right.
thank
Good
you
job,
guys so
quarterback
much.
Alex.
Thank you, everybody in the chat who it was very active. We appreciate hearing from you guys. Again, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, Sports by the Book, please do. We're trying to hit a goal by next week. But thank you for jumping in and getting that chat active. Thank you to the crew working hard through the holiday seasons. Thank you to you too. For Vinny and Chris Andrews, I'm Alex White. I'll be back Monday, 10 a.m. here on Sports by the Book. Come say hello to the whole crew here at the South Point in Las Vegas, Nevada, if you are here. But till then, we'll see you Monday on Sports by the Book.